How's it going, speedsters? Welcome back to a brand new Flash review. Now, I'm absolutely delighted to speak about this episode because, getting right off the bat here, I really enjoyed it. I found this episode really intriguing, and I feel like the Flash in the back half already, just from the first episode in Post-Crisis, is off to a great start. And I think Eric Wallace has really got something up his sleeve to keep all of his fans, not just his fans, but the show's fans, engaged. And this episode just really gave a good essence of that. Of course, the Blackhole organization was kind of littered throughout the first half of graphic novel part 1. As they've described it, this is like a 2 graphic novel season. We're finally into the second graphic novel, which will obviously really utilize the Blackhole organization's plans. And finally, in this episode, they acknowledged the name of the organization, which could very well be low-key kind of the villain of the second half, or they might be responsible, should I say, for the main villain, because as we know with the Blackhole organization is that they're responsible for abducting metahumans and training them, so who knows what else they've got up their sleeve. But before we get into all of this in more specific detail, guys, and break down the rest of the episode, go ahead and like this video if you do go on to enjoy it, and of course subscribe to make sure you stay up to date with any Flash videos coming out in the future. So to jump right off the bat, at the very beginning of the episode, we had Jitters that has now reopened, already getting robbed, and Barry came in to save the day. It was just like a nice kind of showcasing beginning for the second half of this season. It's kind of weird. I know I've already said this in this review, but we're kind of getting 2 seasons in one season with, obviously 2 graphic novel parts. This is where they introduced a brand new intro for the second half of the season, and honestly, I just felt like saying, how about that intro? It was really cool. I know it's a bit longer than the typical, really quick flash of the Flash logo, but this was like a really refreshing thing to see. The show's logo or intro has never been updated. Not that that happens in every single show, but yeah, I really liked it, and I hope they continue to do it. I think they will. I don't think it was a one-off thing, and I'm glad that they did it. I would love to know your thoughts on that anyway. But moving onwards, this is where we get some comments on Post-Crisis from Cisco himself, which still doesn't really fully add up, but he's essentially saying that infinite number of Earths experienced a cosmic heat death from which only one Earth was rebuilt, which isn't true, because we know that there's Earth 2, which Stargirl is on. We know there's a whole bunch of Earths that you're probably seeing in screenshots in the video right now, from Doom Patrols, Earth 9 Titans, the Green Lantern. There's a bunch, but it's kind of obvious that even though we know there's still a multiverse out there, even though people like Cisco himself is stating that there isn't a multiverse, they're just not aware of it. Maybe one day in a future season, where it's a couple of seasons, they might be like, oh, we detected this new multiverse with several Earths because we were using the wrong frequency this whole time or something. Like, maybe that would be the answer, but for now, they truly feel like they're the only Earth. It doesn't really matter anyway. They even mentioned how the interdimensional extrapolators don't work anymore as the multiverse is gone, which means the physics behind breaching has changed entirely. So yeah, they keep giving us these reasons until one day they're ready to tackle another Earth. But to be honest, after Crisis, I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of want to have a little break from the multiverse stuff. And this is where we also got introduced to Cisco's Who's Who book, which is a bunch of villains that are now kind of back with fresh paint jobs, which is quite a really cool idea for the Flash writers to kind of come up with, because you can now spin some old villains with new, slightly upgraded powers, or just kind of new versions of villains, or whatever. Like, it's like a brand new blank canvas, and I think that's a great and excellent opportunity for a show moving forward. Plus, Crisis gives, I feel, no pun intended, but infinite resources to, a show like this, because of the mass scale and changes that Crisis introduces to multiple shows. There's many things you can do, especially in a show called The Flash. So I think they have a lot of things that they can pull out the bag from here on out, and I'm really excited to see where it goes, especially with the storyline that we've got at least beginning in the second half of the season with the Black Hole. Now, I'm only very quickly going to mention this side of the review because there really isn't much to say, with the whole Diggle and Barry stuff, because Diggle came to Barry's house, so they went on their their own little mission, much to how Diggle probably didn't really want to. Now, this is before Diggle found that Green Lantern ring. I mean, you have to assume there was a Green Lantern ring in that scene at the end of Arrow's finale. But he essentially wanted to give Barry Oliver's mask because it was a part of Oliver's last will and testaments. Essentially, this story didn't really go particularly anywhere. I mean, like, Barry was quite reaching in terms of how there was a mark on the mask, and he thought that it could be some clue to some threat too dangerous to put into writing. And even in that line, I was thinking, like, really? I mean, I got from the get-go where they were going with this. You know, fair enough, there was Mirakuru on the mask, but it was kind of obvious that Barry felt almost obligated to find a mission for Oliver out of nothing. He has this kind of weight on his shoulders now, I think, to live up to the caliber that Oliver was, but not only out of respect, but out of admiration and just almost continuing his legacy. I like that aspect of it, but I knew it was a whole bunch of, like, it is what it is kind of thing. And that was basically it. He kind of accepted it, moved on. It was nice seeing Diggle and the Flash, and it definitely added a nice kind of sugar coating to this episode, even though it didn't really go anywhere. Now, moving swiftly onwards and back on track to the whole Iris story, which I found very, very interesting. I'm like seriously finding this character Iris the most interesting out of everyone at the minute. And I'm not saying that I haven't found her a decent character beforehand, but if anything that they've always wanted to do, including Candace Patton and other people on the show as well, they've mentioned this before a billion gazillion times, which is the journalistic route. And what they're giving her right now, especially in how it weaves into the main plot of the second half, is absolutely great. Like, honestly, I'm really looking forward to seeing this whole Blackhole organization thing unfold. What they did with her this episode was really cool, with how they had her meet with her source, talking about the whole Blackhole organization in terms of how he spent 20 years working for McCulloch Technologies in the R&D department, and that is how they linked Malcolm Strombard, I believe his name was, who came in and took that prototype rifle. If you guys remember, the guy who worked for the Blackhole organization but also got killed by the Blackhole organization because he was compromised and he died with that, in that car burning. And this is where it got also revealed that, of course, since Iris is trying to burst the door wide open in terms of the Blackhole organization, that she is the next target of this mysterious laser-eyed assassin, who we actually found out to be essentially this kind of new Dr. Light, who focuses her powers through that photon gun, which is pretty awesome, and also a part of Cisco's Who's Who book, with also sharing the name of the female Dr. Light from the comics, who goes by Dr. Hoshi. It was really interesting seeing Iris go on full-on building a black hole timeline. Ever since the particle accelerator, they've been abducting and training metahumans such as Ultraviolet, who we saw towards the very beginning of the season, and that's how it kind of weaved into the first half of The Flash. Now, Iris did try and confront the current CEO of McCulloch Technologies, who is Joseph Carver, and he essentially denied that there was any large conspiracy. This is where she even launches that article to Central City saying that McCulloch Technologies is compromised by a covert organization. So she's already blown it out of the water. She's got their attention. So stuff throughout, this is what I mean, in future episodes, it's going to heat up quite a lot. But we also had some other interesting things going on with a couple of other characters in this episode, because we had Nash Wells return, and even he and Cisco had a little bit of a confrontation about Crisis, even though Nash felt like he paid for it. But he also kind of confirmed some deaths. So apparently these people have not survived, which is Harry Wells, Jesse, which is pretty crazy. Technically they would have found out if they were kind of here on Earth Prime, and he even played a recording of Harry later on in the episode, which was quite sad because it was a newer recording of him telling Cisco that he's kind of regaining his intelligence. So yeah, I guess for now, unless in a future episode or season somehow they did survive, but for now I guess R.I.P. Jesse Wells and Harry Wells. But also, while we're on the topic of Cisco stuff, after that conversation with Caitlin, it basically boiled down to that he does miss being Vibe, even though he doesn't regret taking the cure. So I think this does spell a bit of foreshadowing for the future, perhaps, if there is a way for him to ever get back his powers, because after Crisis, you can only assume that they got revoked again. But at the end of the episode, Cisco is indeed going away for a bit, apparently to suss out some threats, in terms of the new world, what, was and what now is post-Crisis. Crisis, which is interesting, which, you know, I think spells that Cisco might not be in the show for a couple of episodes. I don't think this spells anything major. I just think it's going to be used to explain maybe a bit of his absence in a couple of episodes down the line. Just like how Ralph wasn't in this episode, even though I think there was no explanation. It would just be a good explanation for if he is missing. And perhaps whatever he comes back with, we're going to get some more really interesting information about the post-crisis world. And as for Nash Wells kind of keeping the reins of Star Labs in Cisco's absence, we got that reveal of that photo, which, you know, I don't know about you guys, it was very obvious. From the second Nash had those interactions with Allegra, it seems that his daughter is a doppelganger of Allegra, which is why they've kind of made that fairly obvious in previous scenes before Crisis that there was some weird kind of thing with Nash and Allegra. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to learn the history behind what happened to his daughter, but that moment wasn't necessarily too surprising for me in the episode, but still, you know, sets up something for the future with his character and, you know, what that will mean. And more or less by the end of the episode, we had Iris's source getting hit by the kind of new Dr. Light assassin. He even goes on to say with his dying words that Blackhole isn't what we think, and his dying words was Mirror. Now, when that happened, I thought, oh, you know, are we getting like a new Mirror Master? Even if it's not like a fully fledged villain or whatever's going on there, it definitely made me, well, think, especially with that ending of the episode. Now, Iris suddenly, out of nowhere, kind of got that lead to find Ava McCulloch after, you know, kind of putting the words or the room number, whatever it was, in a reverse image, so it kind of spelled Ava, who has been missing, I believe, for quite a while. I think since the particle accelerator, and that is when she gets trapped in the mirror. Quite literally, she used that black hole organization little symbol thing to open the door, and, you know, connecting that to what obviously the guy said in his dying words about Mirror, and then she gets sucked into the mirror. It's kind of like, you know, adding 1 + 1. Plus, you know, the official character description from back in November of where we learned that Ava McCulloch would be coming to the show because she got cast as Efrat. I think that's how you say her name. Efrat Dorr has been cast in the role of Ava McCulloch, and the official character description was a quantum engineer and co-founder of McCulloch Technologies. Ava McCulloch is a scientific genius who works on the bleeding edge. Ava has been away from Central City for many years, but a chance meeting with Iris West Allen results in a surprising alliance that pushes the boundaries of sanity while also uncovering a vast conspiracy to take down Team Flash and its allies. Now, obviously, that's not 100% accurate to what actually happened in the show in terms of, like, you know, a chance meeting. I guess you could call it a chance meeting, but either way, that was the official character description for her, just to let you guys know in terms of maybe what we can kind of expect and feel out for the future episodes with, you know, what happened, considering she got snatched into the mirror. But I really did thoroughly enjoy this episode. It really set me in a good mood for future Flash episodes coming. I really can't wait to see what the Black Hole organization turns into. Honestly, my biggest wish is that as we get to maybe episode 14, 15, 16, is that they reveal a villain that they've had, a meta, who maybe have been infused with something so intimidating to make them a villain and a really big problem for Team Flash. Now, I know a lot of people want a speedster. That would be really cool. That would be really cool if somehow they've been experimenting and they've managed to give that somebody. Maybe, I know a lot of you are thinking maybe that could mean Godspeed's return, or maybe we could, of course, have an all-new kind of speedster weapon or something like that. I don't mind Ultraviolet and lesser villains like this new Dr. Light, but come on, I think even though we have an organization here as a potential second half villain, I think we need a frontman for that. We need a frontman villain of the Black Hole organization, and it needs to stop being the lesser villains. But, you know, I'm of course willing to wait several episodes for that to happen. Don't expect it to happen 1 or 2 episodes right as The Flash returns for its graphic novel Part 2 season. But what did you all think of the return of The Flash, guys, post-Crisis? I would love to hear each of your thoughts down in the comments below. I really, really would. Love reading every single one of them. I'll try and reply to as many as I can as well. But other than that, if you definitely do want to have a chance to talk to me about this, you can join my Discord server. That link will be in the top pinned comment of the comment section down below. Other than that, guys, check out the description links. You can follow me on Twitter there. You can also support me on Patreon if you want to kind of support the channel a bit further by pledging. You get some rewards in return. But I believe that is absolutely everything, guys. So check check out my past couple of videos here just in case you're interested. But yeah, I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you speedsters in the next video. Goodbye.